Die Brautpaar mit einer Kutsche. No, that's not a phrase. They rode in a carriage. Hi, my name is Thomas and I'm studying German, or as they say in German, Deutsch. I have a few different motivations. One of the nerdiest and most interesting, I think, is that because English is a Germanic language, studying German can kind of show you how the two languages diverged over time. And so they're related, but also they sound so different. But also German's very close to Old English, which I studied at one point. It's lots of fun to learn about historical linguistics. My strategy is studying in the morning because I think morning is a little bit more I'm not stressed out yet about the day and it's kind of nice to do, and I'm doing about 15 minutes because I prefer doing short amounts over time so I don't forget everything by the next day, and I'm doing that for 3 weeks, which will hopefully give me a good basis for the vocab and grammar. At the end of this week, I'm going to Germany, both Berlin and Munich, and I've been to Germany before, but I really didn't speak much German besides Hallo, and that's it, Hallo. And so this time I'm hoping I'll be able to at least engage in some simple conversations with people, like ordering food and just saying things without having to resort back to English. I'm excited to do the challenge, go to Germany, and then order some beer, or as they say in German, Bier. Hello, it is still week 1 of the Babbel challenge that I'm doing. I'm now in Worcester, Massachusetts, but still at home. But I did manage to find one German speaker, though she is a bit reticent. See? This is my cousin's dog, Jessie. She's not the best at tricks, but and she's technically a dachshund, and since I've been studying the animals recently, I now know that means badger dog. So I was trying to teach her some German tricks, but I don't think it fully worked. Jessie, sitzen. Sitzen? Alright, she sat. That counts. That's German. Even though it sounds a lot like the English version. So, we're gonna keep working on that, and keep learning German together. Learning is going really well. I've been sticking to my plan to do 50 minutes. We're a week in now, so I've been making slow progress. Not slow, but just chugging along at a moderate pace. I think so far the best thing that I've been at is just getting more vocabulary, because Babbel kind of spaces it out, so I'm just slowly gathering my personal German dictionary. And I've also been working on my pronunciation, which is hopefully doing better. I haven't gotten any reviews from actual German speakers, so maybe I'm making a fool of myself, but other people say it sounds pretty real. Hello, dies ist die zweite Woche der Challenge und ich bin im Central Park. Or, it's the second week of the challenge and I'm now in Central Park because it's really nice out and because I wanted somewhere to study. Unfortunately, it's also very crowded in the park. Clearly I wasn't the only one who had this idea, so I tried to find a secluded spot, but I'm now surrounded by both birds and birders, which is fun. Anyway, in my second week, the challenge is still going well. I still am struggling with the genders of the German words, but I tried my best. It's 1 week until I'm going to Berlin, so hopefully I can get my act together by then. I still need to practice more actually speaking aloud, but in theory I should be fine. So we shall find out soon. So I went to Berlin for 1 week and then Munich for half a week, and it was an interesting time. So far, I've struggled to actually speak German, though not because I don't feel like I can, more because being in major cities in Germany apparently means that if you look at all like you don't speak German, then it's impossible to get someone to speak to you in any language besides English. So that's really been the struggle so far. I mean, also, I'm still stumbling when I do try, but I think it's definitely a lot of progress. And also, people sometimes say things like, oh, why learn a new language when you're visiting a place if they're all going to speak it anyway? But I will argue that that's not a good argument, because just knowing how to read signage and stuff has been tremendously helpful, and I've definitely been saved multiple times by that. I still think that I probably could have pushed myself a little harder to just try to have conversations. This was also my first occasion where I traveled alone, which is kind of different because it was a mixture of both working with a language that I was still relatively new with, and also social anxiety. So that kind of kept me from like making friends in the Hofbrauhaus or things like that. But I still think that like for me personally, I did push myself. I did have conversations in German that I walked away from without just saying like, dang, darn it, I really should have tried harder. I think my main advice for someone who wants to learn German, especially for travel, is that if you know kind of what you want to do, just kind of run through in your head what interactions you think you'll be having. Like, obviously you'll want to learn like hello and how are you and things like that, but if you know you're going to be going to restaurants, learn that kind of restaurant vocabulary. If you're going to be checking into a hotel, learn that as well. Like, it is just very useful focusing explicitly on what you're going to get, because there's like fun vocab to learn, like, I don't know, like zoo animals. But if you're not going to a zoo, you don't need to spend as much time on the zoo animals, unless you just really like looking at pictures of animals and knowing that duck is Enten. And then when you see the German ducks, and you try to speak it to the ducks in German, because you're like, well, these ducks probably don't speak English, then you can say like, hallo Enten, and then they say quack, quack, quack. I do want to keep studying the language. I don't know when I'm going to go back to Germany, so there's not so much a pressing travel desire, but I mentioned previously that I had the other motivation, that I just kind of am interested in the German language, because historically it's related to English, but they're so very different, and like the sentences work in such a different way. I'm just really curious about the logic of it and how it kind of unlocks like how not every language works in the same way, and how like you can't necessarily word for word translate a sentence and have it make sense in another language. Hallo, ich heiße Thomas und ich habe vor 3 Wochen mit Babbel Deutsch gelernt und ich wollte einen Tisch für eins. And that last part is, I'd like a table for one, because I kept having to say that in Germany. Because often if I sat down, they'd be like, are you waiting for someone? And I'd say, no, I just want food.